How would you say the beginning of practice has been, and what stood out to you the most about what you've seen so far?
Well, I think our guys, and this will be a recurring theme, I think our guys have handled the adjustments, the different adjustments we've had to make just to be able to practice. And I think our guys, with being away from football, with not having spring practice, they've come out with a lot of enthusiasm and are excited about, what we've been able to accomplish so far in terms of staying safe and staying healthy, and everyone going out with the right frame of mind.
How are you feeling right now about the depth that you guys have at corner this year?
I feel really good about it because of the fact that, we have some youth, guys like T. Denson and Cameron Key. And then we have some definite experience in guys like A.J. Parker and Keandre Thomas, even though he's, coming in as a transfer. So I think we have a good mix of guys. And I like where our group is mentally right now as well.
You feel like Thomas has the potential to be a guy that can start from day one?
Well, it's a competition, and it's an open competition. If he had to be out there, I'd feel just as well as I would with AJ out there, with Lance. All those guys have shown to be able to play college football on this level. So I'm like I said, we're still going through it. We're still earning our stripes. But the guy who has consistently started at Kansas State and in this program more than anybody else would be AJ. But he also understands that it's a day-to-day competition, and all of those guys are in a good place, I think, with our staff and with myself to be able to go out and perform, on this level.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Else?
Hey, Van, have you guys had to implement any kind of new protocols, or have you talked with the guys at all about being a little bit safer now that all the students are back on campus?
Well, we've definitely talked to them about the fact that this is the biggest challenge that we've had thus far in terms of handling your business away from the facility, because we've been in somewhat of a bubble so far since they've been back on campus. And now when you integrate the students into the campus, then, we have to make sure that we take the measures that they've done so well here in Vanier, and we have to take those out into the classroom settings. We have to continually take those out into the community. Well, it's a different kind of community, and the campus is different than what you've been accustomed to thus far. But I think our guys understand that as a challenge, and they understand the importance of handling themselves the same way that we've done the last few weeks, if we want to continue down this path of being able to play football.
And I know it's still early in camp, so you might not have a total answer here, but can you feel the defense playing a certain kind of different way now that you do have Joe in charge? And can you see it, I don't know, fit into what he wants yet?
Well, I think Joe does a good job of expressing to our guys what he wants. And the fact that, we're not a new staff. So they knew, his level of intensity. They knew his level of detail. And so they've kind of come along and done exactly what he would have expected as a defensive coordinator. So I think we're seeing from them what we'll continue to see. Like I said earlier, there's guys in different spots, especially at the cornerback position, that they're learning and they are improving each day, and we're excited about that. So to really answer your question, we're seeing it. But we understand we still have a long ways to go to be able to say we are a complete defense.
Dirk.
Coach, how would you characterize what you've seen so far from your new transfers, Keandre, but also Justin Gardner?
Well, I like the fact that those guys come to work every day. That's been exciting. That's been refreshing. And then, like I said earlier about Keandre especially, he has a certain level of experience. He's played the game on this level before, and that's an exciting point. But they both work hard, and they're actually good friends, and they're fitting into the group. That's always a concern whenever you bring a transfer in, is to how long it will take for him to fit into the group. How long will it take for him to buy into the culture that you're trying to build. And I think those guys both came in with an open mind, but the guys who were in the room already have accepted them. And so I'm excited about where we are. But again, I say to them that, there's still a lot more for them to learn, even with the level of experience they have. There's still a lot more to learn, and they are progressing rather well, I like to say.
And what's the challenge been like in preparation with just probably the players realizing the fragility of this season? Is it hard to get them to kind of focus in on what they're supposed to be doing since there's so many other circumstances to follow?
Well, there's been adjustments all over. We've had to make adjustments as to how we eat, how they get practice equipment, how we dress in the locker room, the medical protocols. So there's been adjustments all over. And, sometimes it makes it a little bit different with all these adjustments. What do I do in cover 3? You know what I mean? Sometimes you can lose that. But I am excited about the commitment that our guys have made to adjusting to all of it. Even in the sense of our staff, there's some coaches that don't even know how to turn a computer on. And those guys have had to learn how to operate and hold meetings over Zoom, in the last few months. So there's been adjustments all over. And I think that, as a staff, as players, as a support staff, I'm really proud of the progress we've made. So even in those ways, those medical equipment, nutrition protocol adjustments, I'm pleased for where we are. And our players, I think, are happy and excited about the people that we have working with them every day.
Thanks, Coach.
D. Scott.
Hey, Van. Chris Kleiman during the summer said that Jaron McPherson is going to be the leader in the back end. And Wyatt Hubert says that he is the most competitive player out there on the field. Tell me a little bit about Jaron and just what he brings to the table in both those areas.
Well, Jaron, I never call him Jaron. I call him J-Mac.
J-Mac.
But J-Mac is a very competitive player. And like Wyatt said, he's in everything that he does, he's always trying to win. And I think he does a great job also of course, the fact that he wants to win, but he also inspires the younger players. And he's also one of our players who's always willing to help a younger player be able to figure it out. He's always one to pull a younger player aside to help that guy along. And so I think that's something that I'm really proud and excited for him about. But when you talk about the leadership in that group, I think he would be one of the leaders in my mind. And it didn't just start. He's kind of always been that guy. He's always been that way.
That shift from nickelback to safety, and I presume is going to replace Denzel Goolsby.
Right.
How has he adjusted to that switch, and how has he maybe improved over the last year?
Well, I think in our defense, that position, more so than the nickel position, has a lot more responsibility in terms of making calls and checks and getting more people lined up. Whereas as he was a nickel, someone got him lined up. And it's not that he wouldn't know what he was doing at that position, but that position is more of a listening position. Whereas the position that he's in now, there's a lot more responsibility. And I think it just fits, for a guy to be a senior. It fits for him to be in control, in command, at that position a little bit more. So it fits right where he is and right really where we need him to be.
Thank you.
Adam Meyer.
As it was just announced, they're going to try and do, I think it was 25% of fans to be in the stadium. Just how much of an impact do you think it's going to make on the players of having just a small amount of fans to cheer them on the stadium compared to just having no fans in the stadium and just a quiet stadium of just the teammates?
Well, I could make a joke. I could have many jokes about that. But, our players, they appreciate our fan base, and they appreciate the excitement that they have on game day. And we all understand that this is a moment of adjustments, and this is a moment where we're getting the opportunity to play, and everything is not going to be perfect, right? We all, our players, understand it, and so we're going to make the best of whatever the situation we're dealt. If we're dealt with having 25% capacity, 10% capacity, I think we're going to appeal to see if we can get 70% capacity. But whatever it may be, that was a part of the joke, right? But whatever it might be, our players are going to deal with it. They know where our fans stand in terms of enthusiasm and support for K-State football. But we have to make sure that we keep everyone healthy while we do what we do. And so our players they're excited for any amount of fans to be in the stands, and they understand where we are from a position of keeping everybody safe.
Ryan Black.
Hey, Van, how you doing today?
Going all right, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Well, when we got to speak with Coach Klanderman last week, he said that maybe one of the few positives about this whole situation is that with none of you coaches going on vacation, you guys were around each other all the time. And specifically for Coach Stannard, what was that like getting to know him? And did you have any relationship with him prior to him coming to K-State?
Well, first of all, before I answer your question, you seem to be the most relaxed person here on your couch.
I'm watching the NBA playoffs. They've already started, so I'm sitting in my living room.
Well, good. You just look relaxed. I'd hate to see what that is you're drinking. But anyway, Coach Stannard, having an opportunity to, like Coach Klanderman said, having an opportunity to be together as a staff has been cool. Of course, everyone wants to get out on the road and go recruit. But again, this is the moment that we're in. So what we decided as a staff to do is try to make the best we could of it. And then when you bring a new guy onto the staff, having an opportunity to have him learn the defense, having an opportunity to have him learn and relate with the players, albeit Zoom, was important. And so Steve really got the benefit of that. And we as a staff got the benefit to have an opportunity to interact with him and to grow to know him. I really didn't have any relationship with him before this time. Of course, I knew who he was, and there's different guys on the staff. They knew about him, but they didn't know him personally. And it's been great, not only with Steve, but to have Joe and to be able for us as a defensive staff to be able to spend time continuing to grow together. It's been a great moment for us, even at our entire staff, because it's one of the things that I've always said is we have really good staff chemistry, and I think Coach Klanderman, you continue to hear that, did a great job of assembling a staff of good men. And when you have that and you're in a room with good men, it's always a great time.
As a follow to that, what's his personality like out on the field so far that you guys have been out at practices? Is he a very kind of energetic guy? Kind of what's he like out there?
Well, I think he's always teaching his players, and he's not I don't think we have a staff. Well, we may have one. I was about to say I don't think we have a staff of guys who really are loud, and we just have one. I'm not going to call any names. But he coaches the offensive line. Other than him, everybody else is pretty much even keel, and that's how Steve is. He's always teaching his guys. He doesn't get too excited. I have seen him flip his wig a couple times, but he was just yelling at me at that moment. So it's fun to watch him work, to watch him coach his players, and he fits right into the things that I heard about him before he came.
And then one last thing, because I want to make sure other people are going to get a chance to talk, but just You
never cared
when you
about
got your
that before.
do what?
You never cared about that before.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Ryan and Kenny would say I always try to get in one last question, but it's like, hey, I got to make use of the time, right? Is that, when you got here last year, you talked about working with Coach Klanderman, and it's kind of being like that two cooks in the kitchen, with you guys kind of both coaching the back end. Are those conversations a little bit different now because, he is the defensive coordinator? So now it's not just the calls don't just affect your two position groups, but it's for the entire defense. Or are they still basically the same kind of conversations?
I think they're the same. Our relationship is the same. There's a certain, I believe that there has to be a level of understanding. There has to be a level of respect, of authority paid to Joe. Joe's the defensive coordinator, and that's it. That's the end of the story. And as the defensive coordinator, if he wants us to be in cover 3, we're going to be in cover 3. And that's the commitment that I made. And I think that's what you have to do. When you are defensive backs coaches, you have different philosophies, you have different techniques, you have different mindsets, thought processes. And so you can always have conflict. Well, Joe and I never did that. We never did that before. But now that he's the defensive coordinator, and as a defensive coordinator, you have to stand back and watch the whole defense. And as a head coach, Coach Klanderman, he has to see the whole team. And I think sometimes that's difficult for assistants to be able to do that. Fortunately, for me in this new role, I've been able to see some of the things that Coach Klanderman deals with as a head coach. And we kind of talked the other day about, sometimes that's a lonely place, because you have to make decisions that affect a lot of people, and sometimes everyone doesn't agree with it. But I think that's the same position Joe, as a defensive coordinator, can find himself in. So what I try to do is support him in all his decisions and handle it that way.
Let's try to get these last 3 in really quick. D. Scott.
Yeah, Van. Twice last week, Kleiman and Klanderman both mentioned the name T.J. Smith. What does T.J. bring to the table?
Well, he's a young player with tremendous intensity. He loves football. He plays hard. He's a vocal guy. So I anticipate all the things that we say about Jaron, that we're going to be saying the same kinds of things about TJ as he continues on in his career, because he's very competitive and very intense young man.
Can you see the field this year?
It's always hard to say, but if any young man could, he definitely puts himself in position to be able to say that. We hadn't practiced a whole lot, but the things that we've seen so far will give you the clue that he could.
Thank you.
John Kurtz.
Yeah, Van, I know Walter Neal's a guy that's had some versatility, has played corner and nickel throughout his career. Just what's the plan for him moving forward this year?
Well, we're going to give him the opportunities, all the opportunities that he's had so far. The fact that he's played different positions, anyone who's played different positions definitely adds value. And, when you have a guy who's a leader, then you expect that guy, just like we talked about Jaron, to be able to come out and contribute to your team as he's done over the years.
Thanks.
Last one right here, Derek Young.
Coach, I know recruiting is pretty different right now in the kind of virtual world you are in, but aside from virtual visits, what's the biggest change you guys have done recruiting-wise, and especially in regard to evaluation?
Well, we've done a lot of video watching, a lot of evaluations. It's been I won't say difficult, but it's been very different because we have not been able to visit schools. We have not been able to have camps and get our hands on players. So most of the things we've done have been watching game film, extensive game film, and watching camp videos. There's a lot of kids, they they send you video of them working out in the park, you know, so you have to be able to gather what you can from that video. And then talking to coaches, sometimes that's a lost art, but we've had the opportunity to visit with a lot of coaches about what they thought about the player. You know, you, like I said, you lose that sometimes when you're able to bring the kid to the campus and you be able to get a feel for him yourself. We hadn't been able to do that. And so we've had to exhaust all options to learn as much as we could about players as we've evaluated them. And I think, you know, that'll help us continue to grow as a staff and as a recruiting staff to learn to exhaust all options as we gather information and research players before and even after we offer them.